I've been building apps full-time for 1 year now. I launched Unglu, which now has over 50,000 users. I launched 3 other mobile apps before that. One of them is still running. Another I sold on acquire.com. But this video is not really about what I got right. It's about what I got wrong. For most of this year, I was constantly learning the hard way. There were moments where I thought, okay, we figured it out now. We're growing. Trials are converting. Revenue is coming in. And then reality would immediately punch me in the face. At one point, Unglu had a huge growth spike, started charting, and I basically thought, okay, this is it, we're winning. And then refunds started coming in. Apple sent us a warning, and Apple paused our payments for months. So that was not relaxing, that was pure cortisol spiking, refreshing dashboards every single morning. That was me realizing that getting someone to start paying is not the finish line at all. So these are the 12 mistakes I made in my first 12 months building apps full time, and what I would do differently if I were starting again. Mistake number 1, I thought there was one secret to making an app work. When you're starting out, it's very tempting to believe there's some sort of silver bullet. Maybe this is the perfect niche. Maybe this is the perfect paywall. Maybe this is the one ad account structure. Maybe this is the one onboarding trick. But after launching multiple apps, selling one, and getting Unglu to over 50k users, I don't think that's how it works. The difference between an app that works and an app that gets no downloads, no retention, no revenue is usually not one thing, it's 1,000 small things. The content strategy, the founder's ability to keep learning, timing, the niche, the way the app looks in a screen recording, the way you explain the app in 3 seconds. All of these tiny decisions stack on top of each other, and that is both annoying and freeing. It's annoying because there's no shortcut, but it's freeing because it means you don't need to be a genius. You just need to keep improving your system, and most people are looking for that one fix, and that's maybe even why you click this video right now. But apps are usually not won by one tiny thing. They're won by 1,000 small improvements that compound. The second mistake is I underestimated how much the idea really matters. There's this common piece of advice that ideas don't matter. Execution is everything. And look, that is true. All things are true depending on what stage you're at. But then at some point, the idea becomes important again. A bad founder can ruin a good idea. A great founder can make a mediocre idea work better than expected. But if you pick the wrong idea, you're making the whole game harder for yourself. Mistake number 3, I confused unique with valuable. As an engineer, coming from an engineering background, you start thinking, what's a totally new problem nobody has solved before? What's an idea that nobody has thought of? I kid you not, one idea I had was like, what if you could take a picture of your fridge and it makes the grocery list for you? Thinking like, what idea has nobody thought of before? And when you say it out loud, it sounds ridiculous. You sitting at a desk are going to find a completely new human problem that nobody has thought of. I mean, maybe you can do that, but probably not. And as a solo app founder, you usually do not want to create a completely new market. It's usually smarter to start with an existing demand. People already want to lose weight. They already want to look better, sleep better, make more money, be entertained, become more attractive. The mistake is thinking you need a totally new problem, but you don't. You need a sharper angle on an existing problem people already care about. Mistake number 4, I judged app ideas by upside alone. So I remember first discovering Sensor Tower. I got so excited. It's very easy to get excited when you see these apps making millions and millions per month, tens of millions per month. You search another coin identifier and you see it making 30 million a month and you're like, I could have built that. Your brain immediately goes, okay, I should build something like this. And that's useful. It's good to see what's working. It's good to know what consumer apps can make real money. And that was part of what got me excited too. But a bigger revenue number does not automatically mean a better idea for you as a solopreneur. Because if that was true, you would just go out and build Tinder, Clash of Clans, or SpaceX with like $1 trillion upside. So the question is not only how big can this get, the question is, can I actually make this work? Can I distribute this? Am I credible to my audience if I'm gonna make founder-led content? Do I understand the customer well enough? Does it require a lot of in-app content? Does it require paid ads from day one? That's what you want to be asking as a solo founder. You want an idea that is big enough to excite you, but it's still small enough that you can actually attack it with your current resources. The mistake is only looking at upside. A better way to evaluate an app idea is to look at upside, cost, and founder product fit, because some ideas look amazing on paper, but they are a terrible fit for you. Mistake number 5, I hired a media buyer before I even understood paid ads myself. This one was expensive. At one point, I hired a media buyer to help with meta ads, and the mistake was not that hiring help is bad. Hiring can be great. The mistake was that I hired someone for a channel I did not understand well enough myself. I also did not really have the runway to pay him for multiple months, which is usually what it takes to get, profitable with ads. And the real mistake was that I thought I needed a media buyer, but what I probably needed was a creative strategist. The bottleneck is not someone pushing a button. It's the creative output of all the different videos and images. I thought I needed media buying. I really just needed a creative strategy. Now, to be fair, I don't regret this. It accelerated my learning a lot. It was costly, but you could think of it as like a tuition. But financially, it was way too much risk for the runway I had. So the lesson for this is do not just outsource a channel before you understand what skill you're actually buying. Mistake number 6 is I treated distribution like one skill instead of many different skills. TikTok can be weirder, scrappier. Instagram often rewards something slightly more polished. So if I were starting again, I would treat each channel as its own skill tree, not just we're doing content, but now we're learning TikTok, now we're learning Instagram Reels, now we're learning meta ads, and try to do one game at a time. The mistake is just thinking that distribution is one checkbox, but it's one of the most high value crafts you can learn. Mistake number 7 is I tried to outsource content before building taste myself. Early on, I hired students to do UGC content. This is not a bad thing to do at all, but I tried to outsource too much before I had built enough taste myself. If you've never made organic content yourself, you're probably going to give bad briefs. You're not going to know what works, and they're going to be able to tell as well that you don't know what you're talking about. Mistake number 8. I did not design the app to sell inside of a video initially. It needs to be visually interesting in an app demo, especially if your main distribution channel is short form video. Seth Godin has this concept that if you drive past a field and you see a normal cow, you don't really remember it. But if you drive past a field and you see a purple cow, you're definitely going to remember that. Most apps look like normal cows. A bunch of text, there's a list, a card. So one framework I like now is to start with the app demo recording and work backwards from there. Mistake number 9. I thought the job was done when users started paying. This is the tough one. This is the toughest one on this list. So this was my most stressful mistake I've made in the last 12 months. So with Unglu, we had a massive growth spike. And for a moment, I basically thought, okay, we won. This is it. The app was growing without us really needing to do anything, and money was coming in. And then I realized something very important. The payment is not the finish line. After payment, people can request refunds. There is churn, there are bugs, there's, a user expectation, and whether the customer actually understood what they bought. And in our case, refunds started becoming a pretty serious issue. I picked a pricing model that did not fit the customer. So at the time, we were running a 7-day trial, and on paper, it looked amazing. The trial converted, people started using it, revenue came in, but a lot of the users were younger, and that's how we got a lot of our growth. They would start to trial, use the app, but then when the charge came, they would panic. They would maybe not want their parents to see that they bought some random app. To them, $20, $30 for a yearly subscription, that's nothing to a 35-year-old, but for a teenager, that matters. So a 7-day trial can look amazing in conversion data and still be wrong for the customer. And that eventually led to a fun email one morning from Apple issuing a warning and pausing our payments for months. So that was a very humbling moment, because from the outside, it looked like we were winning, but inside we were not getting paid. So you might think this is like a nice problem to have. It's better than not having any users, but in a way it's psychologically harder when you know, like, there is money, I'm not getting it right now. Growth will amplify your problems. And that was the lesson. Mistake number 10. So the first app I built a year ago was called Mindcast. And after I sold it, the buyer renamed it to MindAware, and the app was basically an AI personality test. I truly believe people are interested in themselves and understanding themselves, but the issue with that product was retention. Once you take the test once, the magic sort of drops. You might come back once or twice, you might read the results again, but the product does not naturally pull you back every single day. The goal is not just to build curiosity and get users, it's to retain them. Build something where usage compounds, where the product has a natural reason to exist tomorrow, not just today. But if your app depends on a one-time curiosity hits, you will constantly need to replace users. And that means you have not built a compounding asset. You've just built a treadmill. Every day you need to post more, run more ads, more traffic, more new users because the old users are leaving. Mistake number 11. I confused persistence with progress. And this is a hard one. As founders, we never want to give up. And I believe deeply in persistence. I think you need determination. I think you need to keep going even when it's uncomfortable. But there is a difference between being persistent and refusing to learn. So with apps, I don't think you should give up the moment something gets hard because your first positioning might be wrong. The paywall, there are so many things, App Store screenshots that can be wrong. And that does not necessarily mean that the whole idea is dead. So I do think you should turn every stone before you decide that this idea does not work. You truly have to test everything. Once you've done that, moving on is not failure. It's just a lesson. Every app I've built has made me better. Every app taught me something, multiple things actually, and every launch has been better than the previous one. If you have turned every stone, you just need to overcome that sunk cost because now you're confusing persistence with progress. And the right move is not to keep pushing. It's just to take the lesson and build something sharper for your next thing. Finally, mistake number 12 is not really an app mistake. It's a founder mistake. So I compared my messy reality with revenue screenshots on X saying, I made 30K MRR in 2 weeks, or this app made 100K in 30 days. And if you're not careful, you start feeling behind. You start thinking everyone else has figured it out. You start thinking you are uniquely slow and dull. But usually that's not the full story. Even when something looks like an overnight success, behind that is often 5, 10, 15 years of learning. So the screenshot, the chart, that's the visible part, but you don't see the years underneath it. And I think there's a lot of retroactive storytelling going on in these founder interviews where they leave that part out. But you need to remember that building anything new, building apps is hard. Making money online is hard. Getting strangers to care about something you made is hard. Getting them to download is hard. Getting them to pay is hard. Getting them to stay is hard. And honestly, I think it's kind of amazing that we even get to play this game. For most of human history, you cannot sit at home at a keyboard, type things in, film yourself with a phone, and build a business from it. That's insane. So after this 1 year of building apps full time, we're going to keep making mistakes. The goal is just being able to bounce back from the mistakes we make and make better mistakes, recover faster, and keep learning and become the kind of person who can survive the game long enough to get good. Those are the 12 mistakes I made in my first 12 months building apps. And if you're further ahead of me, I would genuinely love to know what mistakes you've made that I haven't listed. And if you are just getting started, let me know which of these was the most useful. Thanks for watching. Let me know if there's anything you would want to hear more about. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.